Hey, Damian. 14 points for you in the final 4 minutes. Just kind of what did it mean for you to have the ball in your hands and to kind of have the entire team trust you in that moment in your first game?
It was, I think anytime your team is encouraging you to be yourself and do what you do when it's so early, it helps. But, I think I've had enough conversations with guys, especially with Giannis, where I know I came in knowing what was expected of me, when these type of situations came. And I've been in enough of those situations where I know it's probably not going to always be me making a shot or taking a shot. But, they're encouraging me to be the person to take control and make decisions and, decide what's going to happen in those moments. And that's what I'm here to do. Even when it doesn't work out, sometimes it might end in a turnover. It might be a missed shot. It might be a lot of things. But I think they trust me with that, and they know that regardless of what the outcome might be on some other nights, that I'll be able to handle it. So, I don't take it for granted, but I also, really appreciate the fact that they encourage it so early. Everybody knows what I do and who I am, and they are, leaving that space for me to do it.
So, Dame, congratulations first off on your debut. I don't know if you saw, but most points scored in a Bucks debut in franchise history. Coach said not too long ago that he could sense during the game you weren't going to let the team win. I'm curious, what was your mindset as you really got going at the end there? And did you have a similar mindset to what Coach thought you did?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been in this league a long time now, like I keep saying, and I've been in a lot of situations. And I think as a point guard, I played with so many vets that have taught me how to manipulate games and manage games. And over the course of a game, I'm always looking at the kind of opportunities I'll be able to have, some things that I might be able to do in the first or second quarter that I might be able to go away from for a while and then keep it in my pocket for the end of the game. Like, for example, tonight at the end of the first half, we was running an action where I was able to get in the paint, get fouled, get a lot of opportunities, and I don't know if anybody else noticed, but I just stopped calling it, because I knew that down the stretch, if it was a close game, it would be a good action for us. And, that's all it was. It was understanding what was happening, being able to manipulate and manage those situations, and that's all it was.
Now, you've been in this league quite some time, but being with a different team, did this feel any different to you from the start of the day to maybe the start of the game? Did it feel any different than a typical season opener for you, just being in a different uniform after all this time?
Yeah, it was definitely different. I think I've been in an environment where I come in the arena, I know everybody that work in the arena. When I get on the court, I look around, like I even recognize fans, that have been there for year after year after year. It's just a super, super familiar environment that I've been in. And when I come here, it kind of feels like a road game. Right now it's like I'm looking around like I'm the new guy, even though I've been in this league a long time. But like I said, I came here to be a part of winning. And, I think I've started to settle in, just by how I've been embraced and, what the team is saying to me behind closed doors.
Damian, we've asked you a lot through camp about chemistry with either Giannis or potentially Chris, but obviously on a night like tonight, you're going to stagger a little bit. What did it feel like to run with different guys as the rotations came in game action? What did you maybe like about having some of those other players with you tonight?
I think the thing that I appreciated the most was just the fact that I didn't have to be so responsible for everything. I think typically I'm always on, where I got to be calling the plays. I got to be calling out everything that's happening. And as soon as the game started, Chris was coming up to me like, hey, do this, just kind of directing me. Brooke is directing me. Everybody's talking. Everybody has experience. So there was some possessions where I would just advance the ball or Giannis would bring the ball. I'm on the weak side or Chris would handle, and action was still being created. Opportunities were still being created without me really having to use energy or just that mind space. I think it's is much heavier than people watching the game would ever know, just being the point guard and always having to pay attention to everything and speak on everything. So playing with vets and, guys that see the game and recognize things that I would recognize, and me not having to be the one responsible for it was the first thing I noticed, right away. Like, man, this is going to help me be stronger for complete games, instead of maybe wearing down sometimes, because I can kind of, I don't want to say relax, but I don't have to be so out front all the time.
Damian, following up on Steve's question and you said that it was different, it was new, it was something that you weren't used to. Building on that, how do you get past that? Is there like a moment in the game where that starts to go away and just becomes basketball and work again? And what's the mental trick to putting that all aside and just locking in?
I think once we tip the ball up, I get informed, It's more of a process getting connected with a team than it is adjusting to the environment. Even though I recognize that it's different, it's more that. But I've said a few times since I got traded that this happened at the right time in my career, the right time in my life. I'm not a kid, so I know who I am. I know what I'm here to do, and I know how to do it. And the environment or me being new or anything like that, obviously it's an adjustment for me personally, but my job is to connect with the team. And, the more connected I am with the team, the faster it'll be me being who I am and doing what I do. And I started that the day that I got here, so it's, it's been pretty seamless.
Damian, building off what Jim was talking about before, I know at Media Day you were talking about you don't know how teams are going to defend you guys. I mean, was it unusual not being the center of attention the entire time out there, like all the space you had, being able to just kind of operate a little bit more freely than you're used to?
Yeah, it was definitely different. I think it would have been even more space, had they called a few more fouls, for Giannis, because he was getting beat up out there. And I think if he's getting those calls and if he's, getting to the rim and stuff like that, I think it's even more open. Chris was limited tonight. He wasn't on the floor as much. So it's a lot of things that I'm still looking forward to, but it was different. I was able to come off screens and attack and have space because, Bees is out there and Pat is out there and teams respect them as shooters. They respect them as threats. So I definitely was able to operate. And even when they changed coverages and got a little more aggressive on me, I felt really comfortable and confident, throwing the ball back to Bobby and throwing it to Brooke and throwing it to Jay, guys that know how to get to the next action, get to the next play, and they can make shots. So it was definitely different, but it was fun, honestly. I was just like, I had no worries getting off of the ball, just like give it up, and a lot of times something good happened.
I wanted to ask you specifically about that last step back with like a minute or so to go, the last step back that you hit. Just kind of can you just walk me through your thought process on that play? Did you know going into it, obviously we've seen you hit that before, but just kind of what was your read on that? How'd you
I think we was up 2. So it was, I'm always paying attention to what the coaches are saying and, what the bench is saying. I always got my ear to that, so I know if they're going to try to run a guy. A couple possessions before that, I heard them telling the guy next, like, get ready, you go. So it was like I knew I wasn't going to have space to attack, so I kind of just baited him. I held it, and I attacked a little bit, knowing I was going to have to get off the ball. But that time, I kind of stayed higher up the floor because I knew, like, it was a chance that they would run somebody at me. But once I stayed up and I saw that it was just me and him one-on-one, I was like, I'm going to try to get to a spot. I'm going to get to some of my comfort spots. And he pressed up on me. And I had got around him a few times, so I kind of hit the gas to get him on his heels. And then I changed direction, and he tried to cut that move off. And then I changed direction again. And by the time I did that and went into my step back, I had enough space to get a clean look. So that's a look that I take 7 days a week. So, it was a comfort shot. Once I got into my shot pocket and he contested it, the ball was already where I needed it to be. So it was pretty much a clean shot for me. And if I can get that type of opportunity, I'm going to take it every time. And I also knew that it wasn't going to be the last possession, but it was opportunity to create some distance. So I didn't have my mind made up, but it was, I just kind of read what was happening.
You started this press conference by saying they're encouraging you to be the person to take control. I wondered who. Was it the players, the coach? And I wondered if was it specific to tonight or leading up to tonight? And the reason I ask is that special to you that they want to adapt to you and make that transition a little easier rather than having you conform to NBA championship team, two-time MVP?
Well, I think I've been around enough for them to see that I'm going to adapt to them. You know, I'm not going to come in here and say this is what needs to happen. You know, I know they're a championship team, like you said, a two-time MVP, another top 75 player all time. So I came in with the mentality that I got to learn. You know, I got to learn this team and figure out how I fit into this team. But I think with me on this team, for us to be our best, I got to be my best. And, you know, from the day I got here, I walked in, literally I was in the facility for probably 5 minutes before Giannis walked in. And I was supposed to be doing all these physicals. I ended up getting my physical at like 1 a.m. or something because me and him sat there for a long time and talked. And one of the main things he kept saying was, you know, I'm going to do what I do, and I want you to do what you do. And, you know, you close out games. We know that's what you do, and that's what we need you to do here. And even tonight on the bench, it was like towards the end of the game, it was 4 minutes, 5 minutes. Jay, Cam, you know, they in my ear like, Dame, finish them, you know, close it out. And it wasn't them telling me, you got to score, you got to do this. It was just, you know, they trust my judgment, and they trust, you know, me making decisions. And all the way down to the very last play where I got fouled and I went to the free throw line, they inbounded it to Giannis, and I was just kind of reading him like, you know, what you want to do. And he was like, come get the ball. So I kind of ran the half court, and I let him bring it up, and he brought it to me. You know, he wanted me to, you know, make that final decision. And, you know, for a player of his level, to respect me in that way, I think, you know, it means a lot to me, but I think it just shows that his number one priority is to be the best that we can be and to win games.
In scenarios tonight where you get into the clutch, the crowd is hanging on every play, do you find yourself drawing energy off of that, or are you just more locked in on what's happening in the moment?
I definitely get energy from it. You know, when the crowd is getting into it and it's down the stretch, I think for a lot of, you know, top players, it's a turn on. You know, you like, man, they expect us to come through, so I got to come through. And it's also just something internal. You know, when you get to the end of the game, it's like I put pressure on myself to be like, all right, I don't care what happened in the previous 3 quarters or the previous 3 minutes. Like right now, I gotta show my work. You know, the things that I do when nobody is there, and the stuff that I put into this game, I gotta still have that same faith and that same confidence in those things, and I gotta do what I gotta do. And like I said before, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But I gotta, you know, I gotta step in those moments and be willing to deal with the consequences, whether that's a loss or a bad play or a night like tonight where it goes our way. But you always gotta be willing to step into it and deal with it.